Today, we'll start just when we're supposed to be. Welcome to Emuna's Our Future. With a mindset of abundance today. We're going to talk about abundance mindset. And this is something which is so fundamental for our generation, the 2020 generation. It was the Mashiach, as we spoke about last week. We're a generation which needs that expanded mindedness to be able to go ahead, that mindfulness, that intentional living, and to understand that these teachings are being poured upon us like the rain that's been coming down the last few weeks in the Holy Land. And even though it's a little bit cold out there, if we internalize it inside on the inner level and we warm up a little bit our being, so then we should be able to experience the light this generates. I'm happy to say today, this week, everything's working, the live feed, and we got our nice video, so it'll come out edited in another few days, thanks to the Brez of Israel team. And we want to thank again Rav Shalom Orish for hosting our class in his wonderful institute in Chut Shel Chesed in Yerushalayim. Wow, every time I say that I live and I merit to live and have a home in Jerusalem is a big deal. It's not like, that in itself is already a great way to start this attitude of gratitude, a mindset of appreciation that not everyone in the world is fortunate to be able to live in Jerusalem. One day, when the Messiah comes, it says that this whole place will expand. Jerusalem will expand to the size of Eretz Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael, the Holy Land, will expand to the whole world, and the world will unify, literally, physically, like I remember back in the day, and it will be like an image of an eye, Basayan. The whole world will come with the kindness of Hashem surrounding like the waters, and then inside we'll have the land of Eretz Yisrael, and inside that, right at the center, is Yerushalayim and the Beis Hamikdash. It will all unify, all the continents, 7 continents. If you put them together like a puzzle, they all come to one center. And that's a very big focus that you should know about. This idea is a very deep concept, but mystically, but the idea that every person's eye has within it a connection to the soul, is a window to the soul, and is a big insight to the ultimate destination of mankind, that we will become one. And that's why there's so much going down with the eyes. They're very deep, very mystical. And I know myself, I have a Relationship Flow podcast that talk about there how when I looked into the eyes of my wife to be on our first dates all those years ago, wow, aging myself, even got a few grey hairs, yeah. So all those years ago, let's say 18 years in the summer, a bit more, and that time I was able to see in the eyes of my wife that she was my soulmate, because that was the place, that's where you see that connection, that point of soul connection. And that's the kind of mindset we're looking for in our weekly class today, to understand that there's not just abundance in physicality and money. I'm sitting in Yerushalayim, I'm not wearing my Armani suit, unfortunately, and I don't have my Ted Baker top and shirt or whatever it is nowadays. I don't have that kind of wealth monetarily, but we do have an abundance of spirituality living in Jerusalem, and that's something which is a very big gift for this generation when the world is so focused on abundance materially, that to have an abundance of spirituality is a very big blessing. Like I have to literally, living in Yerushalayim, choose where to go to that's going to be spiritual, how much time to give to it. Someone was just hitting me up just before this class, could we get together, make a little Farbrengen, what was going on, Tu B'Shvat, right now it's Tu B'Shvat, special time of internalization. And he was asking me, where do I come? I just flew in now, this minute, from Toronto, and I want to get together. And I'm like, most of the stuff was last night. I was at my Rebbe last night in the Tony Rebbe in Jerusalem, and he was giving out all the fruits and everything. And back in the day, I was by the Kalever Rebbe and other Rebbes, and I've even had some jam from Rav Orish, from the Esrog. And it was a special time. So there's so much going on in Jerusalem, so much to be appreciative of, so much to say thank you, and Todah Hashem. And I also thank everybody who listens, anybody who shares. Thank God we see the English program is growing. It can definitely grow more. And the good news is we do have a new class from Rav Yonatan Galed coming out soon. There's a little bit of a delay. His 9th class of our Emuna Universal Garden of Emuna series. And all of you who've commented and given feedback, it's so appreciated. And of course, as Rav Dainel got, I myself got chizuk today with the Shechianu concept. When you eat a fruit, Tu B'Shvat now, and you eat a fruit and you say a blessing, there's a way to do it. And the whole idea of blessing on a fruit is part of this concept of abundance. Now, how do we have an abundance mindset? As we're going to quote now Tony Robbins. So it's about gratitude, attitude of gratitude. We mentioned that before. And it's about getting rid of our limited beliefs and having an empowered mindset, a mindset of success, a mindset of I can do this, not I can't, but I can, and I'm able to, and I have the ability. I have God-given abilities that nobody else in the world has. I've been given my specific divine mission that no one else in the whole world has. Thank you. That nobody else has this opportunity to sit in Jerusalem and say over Emuna's Our Future Ideas from Rav Shalom Morish's Garden of Emuna series and all of my personal experiences, and then quote a famous, talented person like Tony Robbins, someone who's given out so much energy to the world. You know, if anyone saw I'm Not a Guru or any of his classes, or there was a website link I was looking at about the mindset of abundance. You know, he's one of the heads of these kind of movement of pushing out there that we can do it and we can overcome our limitations. And this is a very, very Jewish concept also. It does have no contradiction with anything Jewish. And what I will add, which is really important to add, is the idea of vulnerability. I'm not always perfect. That's what I was saying before. Like, thanks to Rav Elgod, I was able to make a correction in how I remember the halachas back in the day. You know, I remember that Shechianu was something that, you know, we all first say the Shechianu before the fruit, bracha on the fruit, when we see the fruit, or we say a Shechianu after we've made the bracha to eat the fruit, before we go to eat it. So there's a different, you know, minhagim, Ashkenaz and Sfardim, but the point is that, you know, you have to constantly go over halacha, so you can, and I messaged the person I was talking about it, I had a meeting with him the day before, very interesting soul, about Tshuva, who was involved in being a manager for big DJs, for people who remix, for dubstep, brostep, all that kind of music world. And we had a meeting together and we were discussing, this idea, this vision of music now with our transition into a more spiritual mindset. And it was a very powerful meeting, meeting another fellow Yid who, I just introduced for another friend, a mutual friend. And you start to realize that around and around as you go through life, and we spoke about this last week with emotional intelligence and not allowing the obstacles. We had a lot of obstacles to get to a normal class setting. And so that in itself gives us appreciation for when it works out. I mean, truth is, it was a little bit late, but, at the time I did write a prox. We're in Israel, everything always, you have to be a little bit, wary of the time points. And that's part of, life living here. There's always a bit of a balagan. And I've understood that with time, they always have to add in room for time. So you're flexible and you're able, once again, to live with that abundance, that you're not pressured that it has to be done this minute. Because once you get into that mindset, and I know that for marriage and bringing up children, you can really end up making mistakes. And that, once again, brings you back to that vulnerability. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be able to say, look, I'm not always perfect. This is part of the, Brene Brown mindset of now our generation. And she was just interviewed by Tim Ferriss. And it was amazing to see Tim himself. I've mentioned him before. He's all about effectiveness. But he's also now gone on a new path of more inner. And it's just amazing. The world is waking up. I think there's a tremendous awakening in the world towards inner growth, inner development. And it's a very good time for all of us, with the technology and the ability to learn and share and grow. We all have this ability now to tune in to an inner development that wasn't so available in the past. I don't even remember, it's so available more than ever now with all the podcasts and all the different good live feeds like we have ours now. And to appreciate this is in itself is abundance. So you have a choice what to watch at the end of the day. You have your machines, and everyone probably has some form of way of tuning into the internet in some form, even if you only have email or text. But you have a choice what to look at. I've streamlined my emails and hopefully my WhatsApps and all this kind of stuff, all my groups, that should basically be positive content. And I've worked out over the last, 10 years since I've made an effort to be online for the sake of, work and connection and joining together with my friends and people, because there was a time period I had no connection, thank God, not to people but to the internet and stuff. If someone wanted to call me, they had to call me, or they had to come see me, and that was good times when I was just disconnected and to really reconnect. But back to now, where we're at now, where there is this abundance of internet and technology, that what do we do with it? So we have to streamline it, we have to focus it into where it's effective. That's a very good point from Tim Ferriss, how to use everything effectively so it doesn't waste your time and doesn't give you, God forbid, like negative experiences. So just really home in on what you're using the internet for, when you're available, when you can do things, when you can tune in. Like, thank God with our Breads of Israel website and all our different channels, there's so much positive content coming on there, and all the other, thank God, Jewish websites and general, like I said, even the world, the non-Jewish world, where there's a lot of inspiration coming from all these different, not gurus, but people who are focused on a growth mindset, not on a scarcity mindset or a fixed mindset. They're wanting to grow, and that is something which is such an availability, and we can say thank you to Hashem, to all the people that make effort to grow themselves, and not in just a selfish way, but in a way that it's done as a community, and it's done as a unit, as a universe and a unity, and it's done as a unit that's compatible to others, and it's able to be understood, that the media is clear, and it's done in a professional way. Like, we're going to put up a nice edited video in a few days of this class, and we shouldn't just take it by. There are people sitting there editing it. It takes work. And all the technology that went into the camera, and all the technology and all the people that were involved in the whole development. And right now that there's security in Israel, that we can have a share without worrying about any dangers or this or that. And so we thank the army, and we thank, there's so much going on at a daily level. The transport that brought me back and forth when I needed to go get someone today and help them with something, and all the different scenarios. And then, thank God, personally, like, I have this Unity Flow podcast. And I was talking about, like, just for example, right now there's a big change in the music world. Like, for example, Nissan Black put out Motherland Bounce. It's a very big change, and that in itself is heading towards a mindset of, he's not just fixed into one way of being. He's going on a journey, and everybody in their own way is going on a journey, and people find it hard. When somebody changes a little bit how they express themselves, or how they used to express, and then they went on a journey not to express that side of themselves, and now they're re-expressing it, hopefully in a holy way, and obviously with guidance from Rav Shalom Arush, because that's who his Rav is, and we thank Rav Arush for his guidance in that case. And we start to think, wow, this is a really impactful, change that's going on, and that brings us back to where we're at right now in the Jewish calendar, because it's really important to just sometimes internalize. We have Tu B'Shvat today, and that's the idea of eating fruits. And hopefully you make a bracha. We mentioned before the blessings you make. Shechianu means a blessing for life, that Hashem gives us constantly new things in creation, and we show appreciation. We recognize that renewal of abundance, and constant this abundance of rain. We thank Hashem in 3 times a day in davening. We thank Hashem in the Birkas Hamazon. If you would go through Hilchos Brachos, which is most people are learning Daf Yomi right now. People are learning, we had the Siyam Shas, if you know what I'm talking about, all these words I'm saying, you know what they mean. When the Jewish people finished the Talmud, and it's 7.5 years cycle, and we came to that climax, now we are in the Masechta of blessings. That's the name of it. That's what we're learning. We're learning about blessings, and we're learning about how to thank Hashem in a correct way according to the Rabbonim. And we know there's all different ways, and to do it with joy and appreciation and have gratitude, and to just stop for a minute, have a little bit of intention before we eat, to have intentional mindset of mindfulness, and how we approach food and drink, and all the different scenarios of where we sit, or who we're with, make a zimun, if you start to break down Hilchos Brachos, which is where we're at right now in the 6th parak, and then that's not even talking about the beginning parts with the Kriya Shema, and we've been talking about that, the whole prayer service, and it's amazing if you start to realize of really what it's all about. And this was from the Talmud, which was a few thousand years old, or a bit less, but in terms of the Masorah, the tradition, all the way back to Har Sinai. And that brings us to now this week. This is Kabbalah Satorah. There's no bigger gift than this divine revelation that happened. And that's all the world will know ultimately, that all the wisdom and all the knowledge and all the clarity that brings so much joy to people. And it really is the key to joy, because A person can't just say, this fun feeling of the body, it just doesn't